Welcome. Dun-dun-dun. Dun, dun-dun-dun, 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 dun-dun-dun. That's not any theme to any superhero.
It sounds a little more Star Warsy than it does superhero-y, but that's fine. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah,
that's okay. Welcome
doing,
to
man?
The show. How you doing? I'm editing your name. You're going to be Super Bob because
that's fine.
But Super Bob Rose. How about that?
Are we? I'm getting the vibe that you think we're gonna like fight about this. Is that what the vibe is? Because I didn't feel like that going in.
I love how it's like, yeah, like it does have that vibe, and it's totally my doing.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to fight you at all. I just know you have to understand, me being the natural Batman fan and you being a natural Superman fan automatically makes us allies and what's that word? Rivals / adversaries all at the same time.
Gotcha.
Man and God standing shoulder to shoulder as we fight evil.
What is the line from the movie? It's Son of Krypton and Bat of Gotham, right?
I think so. I think
that's the line.
There's so much to unpack within just the allotted time that we just discussed off air.
It's too much. It's too much. It's a daunting task, especially for movies that are so divisive with other humans.
Right. Let me ask you this. Let's start off let's get right out of the thing, because I want to just to briefly fill in anybody who missed our last conversation when we discussed Batman and Superman during our WandaVision talk. We were supposed to be talking about WandaVision.
Boy, did we veer off.
But that's okay. That's okay. These things happen. Bob mentioned that he felt he had feelings about both of these films. One, he felt okay about Man of Steel, and Batman versus Superman left him not feeling too good, which he has since changed his mind a little bit. And you said that you revisited. I don't know how far you got, because that was a daunting task. It's a lot of movie for you to rewatch.
Man of Steel is 2.5 hours almost, and the BVS Ultimate Edition is over 3
hours.
Yeah,
which I did last week. I did this last week.
I was doing work today, and I had both of them running in the background. So but I've seen them. It's not like I don't know them. Sort of like for everyone that kind of just says they straight up hate these movies, I have said the same in the past. But let me tell you something. I've watched these movies.
Right.
I don't just say I hate something and never visit it again. I have actually watched these movies multiple times. So do I hate them? No. It would be dumb to say I did. It would be unfair. It'd be unfair.
Right. I can dig that mojo. And right out of the gate. Well, my question to you was, has your opinion changed with this viewing, which I didn't realize? So you had watched it multiple times. This was my second time ever seeing Man of Steel since 2013.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I attempted to rewatch Batman versus Superman and got sidetracked. So this is actually my first revisit of both of those movies since I saw them in the theaters.
Wow. So I've actually seen them more than you have.
You have seen them more than I have. I've seen one of each film of the Snyder trilogy. I've seen one of each in the theaters, and generally that's the way it is with movies. Like I can see, it depends on. There's some movies where I can watch them like obsessively over and over and over again, and I will. And there are other movies where I see it and I go, okay, I don't need to watch that for another 5 or 10 years, and then I'll be ready to revisit it. And then there are those movies where I watch it once, and if I see it again, great. If I never see it again, whatever.
It's fine, right?
It's fine.
I'm a natural rewatcher. Like I rewatch things. I've learned in recent years that a lot of people don't do that. I'm somebody who always has. Like I'll watch a movie. I saw Man of Steel. Let's just go with these. I saw Man of Steel. Now I'm a Superman fan.
Right.
And I didn't even like it that much. I saw it 4 times in theaters.
Wow.
So that's where I'm coming from. And now why did I do that? A lot of reasons, but really
why did you do that, Bob?
Because I like seeing Superman in action, even if it's stuff, even if there's themes and stuff I don't agree with, or portrayal I might not agree with.
He's a great Superman.
He is. He's a great Superman. And Zack Snyder, understands the physics of a Kryptonian on Earth and what they are capable of.
Yes.
And that was nice to see for maybe the first time ever. Brandon Routh, I like Brandon Routh, don't get me wrong, but that movie is not an action movie by any means.
Right.
It's Superman lifting things.
Right.
Fine. But this was like the first time you could actually see how dangerous and what the epic power they have in them was Man of Steel. So I liked seeing that on screen in a big movie theater for the first time. Right.
Let's just start right out of the gate with Man of Steel. I rewatched it and I remember seeing it, and I told you this last time. I was like, it's okay. Like, nothing spectacular. And this is what I've learned, and this is true, Bob, you're right. It is good to rewatch stuff because especially, I can't tell you how many times I've revisited a movie and it just affects me a different way, or I see something like, and it's funny, we as movie-going public, we're such know-it-alls. We watch something once and we go, I don't ever need to rewatch that. I know exactly what it's about. And man, I've been proved time and again that is just so not the case. And so I'm rewatching Man of Steel. And of course, instantaneously, I don't know about you, Bob, I used to be a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. You ever watch Dragon Ball Z, Bob?
No, actually, here's a place where we won't see eye to eye because I've never been into anime. So
I have never been to anime either, Bob, but I did watch Dragon Ball Z, which is the gateway for Americans.
Anime,
for Americans to get into anime. And the thing that really struck me about Man of Steel, and I love the story of Dragon Ball Z, the story from the Saiyan saga all the way up to the Frieza saga is quasi Shakespearean. I mean, it is really good stuff, just great storylines and conflicts and yada yada yada. But the thing at the core of it is the fact that Goku's story, Goku discovers they did Dragon Ball Z, they did Dragon Ball, and Goku was just a really strong kid with a monkey tail. And then voila, Dragon Ball Z, they go, hey, actually, Goku's from another planet called Planet Vegeta, and basically he's the last of his kind. He's this thing called the Saiyan. He's the last of his kind, and he can undergo this transformation called the Super Saiyan, which I'm sure you've heard this from the Superman fan.
As a Superman fan, I know this stuff because who is often pitted in a fight.
Precisely.
In pop culture fights, it's always Superman versus Goku. It's like a thing. I think there's an epic. I'm not disagreeing with that. Not just because I like Superman more, but I understand that Goku's power is just dumb.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous when you become a Super Saiyan.
I don't like Superman just because he's the ultimate power or anything. Anyway, so it doesn't bother me.
Right.
But I think, like that's how I know what Super Saiyan means, and I know like Goku's sort of backstory, like you just said. I'm aware of it because I'm a geek, right? And if I look Superman up, Goku's always there somewhere. He's always right next to him. It's like
And so, what's interesting though is I'm watching this and I'm going, fucking A. Man of Steel is essentially Goku, the story of Dragon Ball Z, the origin story, the revised origin story is a ripoff of Superman. And then Man of Steel, in turn, is essentially a ripoff of the Saiyan saga, which blew me away upon this revisiting. I was going, holy fuck, they're doing the Saiyan saga, but with Superman. What a great idea. And Superman and Goku, they're very similar too, in terms of just like, being the I guess like innocent's not the right word, but like pure-hearted. They're both pure-hearted.
Yeah, there's purity. I don't know much about Goku, like as far as stories go, but I've heard there's a purity to him, like Superman.
There's a purity.
Yeah, right.
And what they're doing with the other thing about the story is
I'd argue Zack Snyder's Superman isn't pure though, but we can get into that.
Right.
Yeah,
You're right. And we're going to talk about that in a second as soon as I get around this long-winded thing. But Vegeta, who is the other last Saiyan, there are two last Saiyans, and they fight each other. So the two last people of this. So
Vegeta's like Zod. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Vegeta is Zod, and Goku, and this final showdown. And it's so funny too because he comes to planet Earth with Nappa, who is his bodyguard, and you could even say that all the other Kryptonians are his bodyguard, or like his Nappa. And they've come to sort of Vegeta wants to create a race of hybrid Saiyan human beings, and Zod is looking to get the Codex to bring Kryptonians back from the brink of extinction. The stories overlap a lot, and both stories finish with Superman / Goku overcoming Vegeta, although the Goku Vegeta story is more of an underdog story because Vegeta is just way more powerful than Goku is.
Gotcha.
But it's kind of reversed in this situation. As Zod, slowly using his military training, is able to quickly grasp things that Clark took decades to master. He does very quickly because he's just, an
interesting idea with weird execution in the movie. I always thought it is, but I don't hate it. I don't hate that.
I chalk it up to training. I just chalk it up to
I don't hate it.
Yeah. So let's start with Man of Steel. Well, let me just I'm gonna go.
I'm letting you kind of guide this because I can you guide me where you want to go with it because I can probably talk about any aspect.
I appreciate that. So I'm gonna start. Last time we spoke, we both agreed that the Kevin Costner as Jonathan Kent death was the dumbest plot thing of all time, and I'm here to confirm this is the single most idiotic, unnecessary, dumb, stupid, foolish, idiotic.
Zack Snyder. Look. Even if I'm not a defender of Zack Snyder, but I can't deny that I'm interested in everything he does. But he seems to really drop the ball in every movie, at least in one scene. There's every movie that I see him make. There's always one scene where I'm like, oh,
Dawn of the
God.
Dead, the dog, and Dawn of the Dead.
Well, there's this, sure you can chalk that up. Obviously, Martha is that scene in that movie, and I'm sure the Snyder Cut will have that scene where it's like. Bob, I don't know if I feel that way anymore. Well, we'll get into
that.
It's not. Yeah, I feel like for me, how's that? I'll say this for me.
Go ahead.
There's always that scene that even if I take out all of my prior love of the characters that he's touching, and I just accept the movie for what it is, there's still the scene where I'm like, within the movie that exists right now, I can't stand this. Like regardless of Superman even existing prior to this movie. Jonathan Kent's death is angering beyond belief. It's astoundingly, it's astoundingly stupid. It's really dumb. Like I have my problems. If I remove in this conversation for your show, remove all of my prior notions of what these characters should be, it still makes no sense.
Right.
Like, why is that guy letting his father die? And what is his I don't even understand his father's reasoning. It's because
there's absolutely
there's none. It's just bad. It's just bad. Yeah.
Jonathan Kent, like he has this. Here's what so makes it even more infuriating is that Jonathan Kent is kind of cooking with this really interesting theme of like, what he's doing is he's instilling what Clark undergoes being a human. Clark's humanity is his humility. He recognizing that he needs to keep himself in check because of his great power.
Right.
And so what's fun, you often hear this, you heard this with Spock and Kirk, you know what I'm going to say about he was more human than any of us, and that's what's interesting about Superman. Partially the name Superman, what makes him so super is the fact that despite the fact that he's an alien from another planet, he is more human than any of us. He has such humanity within him, and his powers allow him to express that humanity. Because
can I describe it in a way that's similar? I'm going to use the words of somebody I do not like.
Okay,
which is the words of Max Landis, who is a piece of garbage. He's a piece of shit. But years ago, he did write a great essay on Superman, and I hate how much I like.
And a short film. He did a good short film about it too.
That's true. He did. Right. Like he is a bad person. Right, straight up. But the one thing he said that I really liked about Superman that I totally agree with, and I believe it was in a Man of Steel conversation, was where he was like, Superman, because he has no fear of death, is an adult walking among children. he does not have. He's extremely human, as you're saying, but he does not have the fear that we have. So without that fear, he can be better than we are. And I thought that is a very interesting premise right there.
That ties into everything that I was just saying perfectly. You are fully picking up what I'm putting down. And so but where was I going with that? Oh, that Jonathan Kent is sort of, and we're seeing all these examples, and I had forgotten how they chose. This was brilliant on Zack Snyder's part. We're not going to take you through the whole childhood chronologically. We've done that. We've seen it. How are we going to do this differently? We're going to flash back. We're just going to cut to integral moments in Clark's life that help shape him to becoming Superman, which to me works so well. Like just hit every, because we're not stuck with, okay, what is he? So it takes you out of the formula of a normal,
this is also 2013, so it's coming off the heels of Smallville and such. Like, we don't need everything. People are kind of savvy at this point.
Right.
Even though Snyder and Christopher Nolan like adamantly said that they needed to do the origin story again.
Who, by the way, two things. One, I think this movie suffers so much because of its ties to Christopher Nolan, and here's why. We discussed our mutual distaste for the Nolan trilogy. We don't have to go back there, but because studios are going, hey, Nolan verse is hot right now. We got to get Nolan in on this. Let's keep the continuity. Who knows? Maybe Christian Bale will come back. So here is Chris Nolan not only doing the story, but he's also producing. And it's
weird that it has no connection to Christian Bale. Why would Christopher Nolan come in and then it not be tied? It's still to this day, I'm like, why did that happen?
Stamp
like
of
that?
approval. They did it for stamp of. They just wanted that
really
Nolan stamp, and because they were hoping, they were scared, they wanted to make sure. But here's the thing, and this is the difference between Marvel and DC, and what they did, like gangbusters in Aquaman. Movies. Well, not just movies, a little bit in the comics too. I don't know if you're going to agree with what I'm going to say. The camp level is about 1,000 times higher on the DC side of things because of the history.
They're both different beasts. Marvel is more about humanity and characters, whereas DC is about like godlike superheroes. I mean, the Avengers versus the actual Justice League, it's not even that much of a fight, in my opinion.
Well,
but
I think
it's not.
That's interesting.
But we're not here to talk about that.
No, we're not. Although I want to talk to you. We have to talk sometime. Who's going to win in a fight?
Here, wait. Before we go forward, you passed the subject before I got to it. Yeah. What I wanted to say was, and I think I blame David Goyer here, but I think the key to understanding what is wrong with Man of Steel for me, which I'm okay with now, but what's wrong for me is Jonathan Kent. And why? Why is Jonathan Kent wrong? Well, I mean, a lot of people point to the fact when Clark says, should I not have saved the bus of children? And he goes, I don't know. And it's like, wait a minute. As a character that we've known for 80 years who has gotten all of his morals from his father, that is an upsetting thing, right?
Greatly.
Now, when I watch the movie now, what I see is, I think the telling scene is at the end of the movie when Jonathan Kent is working on his car and Clark is a kid out there playing with his dog, right?
Yeah.
I see so much more subtext in this scene now because the way that Costner is directed versus the way that Martha is directed is he looks like he is scared shitless of this kid. He looks like he has fear in him of what he could be capable of. And there's that scene where he's looking at the kid and Clark is standing there with the cape flowing behind him with his arms there, looking down at a dog. And I'm like, you know what? I know Zack Snyder is really into symbolism. And what I see is a being that knows it's superior looking down on a less superior being. And his father is looking at him and Costner, who we know can act. It's direction. Looks like he's scared shitless of what that kid is capable of. This Jonathan Kent doesn't know what exactly to do about what he has in his own home. And he is scared. So I attribute Man of Steel as a story partly about Jonathan Kent actually losing his faith in God because Clark exists. And if you think about the stuff he says to him in the scene when he's showing him his ship for the first time, he's literally saying people will not know what to do. You bring into question everything humans have believed for thousands of years. I think his own son made him stop believing in God, and he's scared of what could happen.
Dude, you're just like, all right, you're blowing my mind. You're making me want to go back and rewatch it again through that prism, because
it's weird, right? But it's got depth, but also I'm like, why the fuck is this happening? Jonathan Kent is supposed to be a moral center here. He's supposed to give, but
that's so much more. First of all, that's so much more interesting to me than him just being a moral center. I love that idea.
I understand that, and that's fine with me if it wasn't Superman. Because I mean, I don't want to get sidetracked on why I love Superman, but it's not relatability. It never was.
Gotcha.
I understand that some people don't get the symbolism aspect, and don't get like the, things we aspire to be instead of what we are, that type of thing.
Well, what you're talking about is the core concepts of the character, which is how I feel about Batman. Like there are certain core things about Batman. These characters are malleable and you can do so much with them. But if you don't adhere to those core concepts, then you are fucking everything up.
Yeah. There's Superman's suit can change, the particulars of his origins can change. Same with Batman. But if you take away some things, I'm like, I wish this wasn't Superman. I don't necessarily hate Man of Steel, but like I said, everything about Jonathan Kent, I'm like, this is not a Superman story. You've taken the core away. You've stripped away the one thing that I loved by literally his father going, I don't know what you should have done. And those people are so scared of you. And you should let me die so they don't see you who you are. Whew. It's a lot of but you understand
so
where I'm saying is Jonathan Kent is so broken that this Clark has to be broken. It's like, it's not badly written in a linear sense. Like, yes, Henry Cavill's Superman is broken for this obvious reason. It's not like that's wrong. I'm not saying that's bad. You know what I mean? Like within the movie itself, it makes sense. Do I like it? Not really. But if it wasn't Superman, I would.
Well, again, if you all right, so you're dissecting this from the character standpoint as a non-Superman guy. I totally pick up what you're putting down and respect and appreciate that. From a plot standpoint, without Superman being the sacred cow that he is for you, I am like enamored with the plot of Man of Steel. I love it. I'm going, holy shit. They like cracked the code with the plot. I'm agreeing
with you. I'm agreeing with you that within its own context, I don't hate those themes.
I mean, that is so,
that makes sense
so much great stuff there. And just the conflict of being a son of Earth, but also, heritage versus, and just all sorts of, there are all sorts of
he's a fatherless Superman for the first time we've ever seen.
Yeah.
He really has no father.
That's true.
And his moral center is his mom. And even she's kind of like, do whatever you want. I love you either way. And it's like I think she says it in BVS.
He goes to a priest. He goes to a priest,
and a priest eventually is the one who's like, you got to show him. You got to, you have to have faith in humanity, dude.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get it from his parents, which it says a lot about David Goyer and Zack Snyder, where how they see the world, because he is not instilled with this stuff, which I think is interesting that James Gunn movie came out like a couple years ago.
Good, which I really,
it was very interesting.
Totally.
But I was like, it's weird to me that came out, and I was like, here's Superman without a moral center. And it's weird. I was like, it's a shame that we can't hold it up against a Superman with a moral center like we're used to.
So many places. Sorry, go ahead.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Stop. The problem with the last 10 years is everyone wants to keep breaking Superman. And we need like the Christopher Reeve one to compare it to, because you can't just keep breaking something and then it's just pulverized into oblivion.
Yeah.
And I think that Zack Snyder, I'm hoping that the Snyder Cut gives me what I wanted all these years. and it's just been a really long 6-hour road to it.
But you needed to do that. I'm glad you.
The end of the shitty Justice League, I think he gets there. I think that I don't like that movie, but the end of that movie, I think that I get my Superman for like 30 seconds.
I was done. I saw it one time, and I was done with. I was like,
yeah, wow, the movie. I'm not.
It's done.
Like, it's terrible, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
It's like, oh, so it took all this to get to where I was hoping Man of Steel would have been.
Right.
Okay, that was a long road. Anyway, back. Sorry, go ahead.
There's one other aspect. I said there were two things about Man of Steel that for me were just fundamentally horrible. There was one other thing that was just so fundamentally off, and yet interesting at the same time, but totally off. The entire Krypton opening is atrocious to me, and I'll tell you why. Yeah, okay. I'm going to explain why. Number one, again, as I kind of was saying before, the problem with this Man of Steel movie, a huge problem, is that they don't go to the level of camp that they go to with, say, Aquaman, which I love, by the way, which I just love the campiness of Aquaman, which to me captures that DC spirit. And which is what's missing totally from the Nolan stuff, completely void. Like also, if there was a spectrum,
talking about James Wan versus Zack Snyder too. It's not just it's a matter of filmmaker here too.
Yes. That figures into it greatly. But the version of Krypton that we get is just, I don't know. It's like, here you go, carte blanche for this alien world, and this is what we get. And they did. I love how, because this is they went back into the comic lore, which I know you know this well. The Kryptonian, the fact that Kryptonians became a very sort of cold people, like they reproduced. They didn't reproduce naturally. They did it in special chambers and all this stuff. They incorporated all that, and they made Superman different by being a natural birth. I love that. That was cool.
That's good. He's basically like, the people were broken. They were living without a heart. The society had no heart left, and all their decisions led to their own destruction. And Superman is a natural birth, and he's sent to a world that hasn't gotten there yet to save them.
Which also is the birth of his, which is also connects to his humanity, that he was created like humans are created, even though he's Kryptonian. I mean, it just adds to all that. However, and maybe it's just mechanics, like suspension. You can chalk this up to suspension of disbelief or belief, rather. I'm just like, these people are literally have all the technology in the world. They were colonizing worlds for 100,000 years.
Yep.
And you're telling me they couldn't get off the rock or save themselves? It was like,
it would have been hold up well.
Not at all. And let me tell you what. It would be one thing now in the past, in like the Superman cartoons, for instance, they cover their asses really well by just, nobody believes that it's going to happen. Brainiac lies to them. In fact, it's Brainiac is the Kryptonian computer in the animated series, and it works perfectly. It tricks them.
If I'm not mistaken, in the beginning of Man of Steel, the council seems like they think Zod is a traitor, and they also think that what he's saying about the planet isn't exactly true.
It's not just Zod; it's also Jor-El. They're both,
but they won't listen to Jor-El. I mean, I'm not trying to defend it. It's look,
dude, they have too much tech. They had too much tech, dude.
Dude, Jeff, David Goyer is a damn mess. He's a mess. The man is a mess. I did, like, one time somebody asked me who's the best Superman villain ever, and I said David Goyer easily. He's terrible. Like, I don't understand where he gets these ideas. The stuff, like you said, in the stuff with the ships and the ice and everything, they've been to them being here prior to the story happening annoys me. I'm like, they've been to Earth.
I was cool with that. I don't like it.
You want
to know what? But that explains why they picked Earth, because they had a knowledge of Earth. That worked. I was totally cool with that. What I wasn't cool with is that, what's her face? What's the name of his mom? What's his mom's name?
Jesus. I think it's, I don't actually know.
Whatever. Mama L. Mama L.
Laura,
right. Yeah, Laura. You're right.
Laura.
It's Laurel. Laura, the computer's like, do you want to leave? And she's like, no, I must be chained to my planet. I can't go where he's going. It's like, yeah, you can. You
no,
dummy.
there's questions of like why I don't understand why the ships that they show up to like his lab, and I'm like, can those ships go to space?
Like,
what's happening? Fuck? Yeah, right. They don't tell us anything, but what it comes down to is the only reason I think I dig it is texture. It's like I don't know if you ever heard this.
You mean the production design?
Yeah. So
cool.
there's a great film. There's a great film critic named Film Crit Hawk. If you've ever read his stuff,
okay, I have not. But okay,
he wrote this great piece about I think it was Infinity War, where he talked about texture versus text, and how like sometimes he'll be totally sold on the texture of something, but when he thinks about it for 5 seconds, it's
just basically Tim Burton, which is style over substance.
Sure. And I mean, Zack Snyder is, yes. I mean, Zack Snyder is the epitome of style over substance. And a lot of people don't really care about style. I kind of do.
Me too.
I love style. I think Man of Steel has one of the most beautiful soundscapes and scores I've ever seen in a movie. Like, it is absolutely gorgeous. That whole Krypton scene is so beautifully rendered. And like the texture of everything is so just real and tactile.
I mean, listen,
does it matter? It doesn't make any sense.
You know, I get what you're saying. I was coming, but I was firmly rooted in the mechanics of why they couldn't. And I also feel that way about texture. But for me personally, I did not like the visual choice. I did not like the textural choices for Krypton. We got to see more of Krypton than we've ever seen in live action stuff, except for the series, which I have not seen.
I actually didn't even watch that. I didn't watch that because I don't really care about Krypton as much as you might think. Like, I like Superman. I don't care about Krypton. And also, when I saw the Lobo design, I was like, please.
I haven't seen any of that stuff.
Lobo's like my second favorite comic book character ever.
You ever read Batman versus Lobo?
Oh,
Batman, Lobo? Great one shot.
I just like whenever they touch Lobo, it's always like, ugh.
Yeah, they always mess him up.
You're messing him up.
Except for the animated series where they had it perfect.
Yeah. I'm talking live action. I did not in the animated series.
Right.
Yeah. And the paramilitary Christmas special's okay. Low budget.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. That's great.
Right.
Who plays him in that?
I forget, but it's like a wrestler or something. He's huge.
No, is Thomas Jane? Somebody's in that just does a really great job.
I think I don't know. I can look it up.
They nailed it. They nailed it in that.
With a budget, that guy could be great.
Yeah, I agree.
That was like 20 years ago though, so who knows?
In any case, the point is Krypton. And again, this is a personal taste thing. This is not. This is just a personal taste thing, and leads me to not like the Krypton stuff. The other thing too, that Jor-El dies at the hand of Zod. I was cool with that, but he dies before the planet blows up, leaving Laurel by herself to send him off. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? They're supposed to send him off together. That was terrible.
It's pretty upsetting. Like I said, now with shades of what I said before, Zack Snyder has this whole, like, you know how he is such an interestingly weird lunkhead of an MMA fighter, nice guy that I've ever seen in the history of cinema. But like, he once again takes the father out of the equation. The mother's the only one there to do the bidding. This is a fatherless Superman, even from day one. The father, the father only earns. It's like the father is like a figure that is always distant and is only there to give the mechanics of life.
300. That's in 300.
Yeah, no, it is in 300.
And it's something that he's in Dawn of the Dead a little bit too.
A little bit too, yeah.
Wow.
Maybe Zack Snyder has some daddy issues that I think none of us have really delved into, but I mean, Jor-El does come back in this movie, and I actually really love Russell Crowe in this movie. I think his performance is really good.
He's great, but
there's still like a coldness to fathers, to him as a father even now. You know, he's like telling his son, like, he's like Mr. No, in artificial intelligence. He's just giving him information, and he's kind of giving him a mission, but also it's like he's still a cold computer. It's just not. There's nothing warm. There's no warmth in Zack Snyder's movies.
Well,
and
you
for
could
him
argue,
to do Superman, it's not there.
I would argue that he is the scanned, uploaded personality conscience into a computer, and therefore, if you wanted to give an excuse as to why there is no warmth, it's because he's.
Oh, no, I agree.
It's the ghost of the father.
It's a ghost,
lacking the not the human element, but the paternal element, the loving paternal element.
To be fair, is in Richard Donner's Superman. That's the same essential thing. It's the same thing, but in something like that, you still have the Kents,
right?
You don't lose that element. So
and to go back to that scene at the end, what I saw when I watched that scene where he's wearing the cape and destined for greatness, and he's looking at his son
when he's wearing the underpants that. Like here, Clark. Here's the stuff I wore under my clothes. Nobody explains that.
Yeah.
Why is it underpants?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just saw that, like, to me, that was like America. That was like America propaganda barf. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, made me kind of sick, actually. Like, yeah, good old fashioned Americana. Superman is as American as apple pie. That's what I always have seen on the surface. But now I want to go back to that scene and look at the fear that you said was there and see if that's there. Because you know what? It is a very, in fact, because he's not such a sacred cow to me, but because I want to see someone dissect Superman in a way that makes him more interested in me, interesting for me personally, in my personal opinion, that almost actually, I kind of dig that. I love this idea that he's afraid of him. It doesn't jive with him dying, but
Superman, in my opinion, Superman properly done is Superman has a flat arc. You know, the world changes, Superman doesn't, but it challenges him. That's what a great Superman story usually does.
Interesting.
That is not what Man of Steel is. That is not why that's not why I criticize it though as much anymore. Now I actually kind of like the movie, and I forgive it for being a different version of a thing I love. But like you said, there is a lot of stuff in it where I'm just like, what? Why?
Unforgivable. There are unforgivable things.
I still, to this day, I still can't. I've seen it 10 times probably, and I can't figure out why there's an element of the sun gives him his powers, because that's definitely in the movie. But then there's the atmosphere, weird ass shit where I don't understand that. I'm like,
what do you mean?
Sorry. There's the whole remember in the movie there's they can't breathe our atmosphere.
Oh.
And it's really confusing, and some of them the rules that they build of that, it doesn't make sense. And I'm like,
I kind of dig that though, and I'll tell you why. That actually worked for me because well, I'll tell you why. Let me explain this. They're keeping, they're not talking about the red sun properties, and instead it's an atmosphere thing. And you're right, the atmosphere, even with a yellow sun, the atmosphere, or maybe what they mean by atmosphere is also red sun rays. Maybe inside those helmets they do have red sun rays.
It's not executed then. It's not executed properly then.
It's not executed properly. But
it bothers me that Clark can lose his powers instantly.
Yeah, it's instant. It's so
instantly
stupid.
by being in a different atmosphere. I'm like,
right.
That doesn't seem like it makes sense. The sun gives him enough power; it should overcome any slight change in. He can breathe in the core of the earth. He doesn't.
Right, who's breathing in outer space?
It's just, I don't know. It was an element to it where I was just like, this doesn't need to be in the script. You could excise it. It lets them wear really cool helmets.
It lets them wear really cool helmets, but even more so, it makes it like they don't realize how powerful they are at first because they're so afraid. They keep their helmets on. And to me, that I found that kind of interesting, that aspect of it, and it kind of allowed me to overlook what you're talking about.
There's a lot of that. It's not that's not. I feel like that's not thought out as well as I'd like. I feel like the whole him having the codex thing within his body aspect of the story doesn't make any sense because it gets lost.
It gets
lost completely. and Clark doesn't seem to care that much about it. And I don't know how I'm supposed to feel, how Clark feels about him having that DNA within him. Because in the end, it's just like, I got to kill him, whatever,
But you want to know what it is? It's that he literally, in the same way that he represents or that he is the best of humanity. He also kind of is like, not only does he represent the last of his race, but he kind of like is his race. Like all of his race is within him
right
now. And it's kind of interesting. And theoretically, if you were to find another one of those ships, those colonized ships, if he were to travel outside, if Brainiac came later and he got the technology to do the travel thing, and he went to another Kryptonian birthing matrix, theoretically he could repopulate the Kryptonian race.
It's not impossible that one of those things exists on another planet too. Like when Zod says it, I was like, when Zod said that, I was like, isn't there like these things all over space? Like, why is this the last hope? But I was gonna say, like, another thing is, how like Zack Snyder, he's like,
they could also fuck, like they could have sex.
Fuck, yeah. But Zack Snyder has admitted that he's really big into Ayn Rand. He wanted to make a movie out of the Fountainhead, which now isn't going to happen. But there's a lot of those themes and stuff that he does. Like in this instance, you made a Superman movie where the end choice is he has to decide between his entire race continuing or humanity.
Yeah.
Something has to die. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad story element, but I'm saying you understand it's the difference in tone here, where Superman has to basically be like, well, my actual heritage needs to be slaughtered for me to continue.
They had a chance.
But it's like dripping with fucking just, I don't know, drama and just.
No, you know what it is though? No,
death.
It's stakes. I understand the way you're looking at it. You're looking at it from one way.
Stakes can be had other ways. It's not like stakes can't come from other things.
They could, but Snyder chose.
It's a very Zack Snyder choice.
Snyder made this decision. He decided these are the stakes. I want you to know what stakes Clark has, and Clark's stakes are the entirety of my race or the human race. And you know what's stupid? The dumbest thing about it is, why not both? Why can't, like, clearly, they're like, all you got to do is give them the ship, let them go to the moon, or like
that, I feel like we'll be talking about this very soon in the next segment. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff about Zack's movies, and I would even include David Goyer, is humans and characters don't seem to talk things out fucking ever. Just talk it out. Why? Like, does anyone want to just sit down and think about this for 5 seconds? These are there. If I had a criticism, and I understand why a lot of people hate them, is they're lunkhead movies. Yeah. They're really lunkhead movies.
They are kind of lunkheaded a little
bit. They go
yeah.
straight to these giant, like, bombastic, brutalizing, beefy dude fighting it out type of things. And it's like you said, why can't he just go, hey, dude, you want some of my blood? You can take the codex and the ship, get out of here, leave humanity alone. Like, he can't just say that. Does he have to sit there and cry? Like, can you just talk for 5 seconds?
But I did love, even though it was just so over the top, at the very end where he's holding Zod, and Zod is like, I'm just going to kill everybody. And he's confronted with this choice of taking a life, which I think up until that point, he hadn't really taken a life. Had he? Did he kill other Kryptonians at that moment? I don't
think anyone has died, no.
No, so this is the first time that he takes a life, and it's the life of the last Kryptonian, right? And besides himself, and he just screams in frustration. And that, again, Snyder may cohesively as a whole, have very flawed things, but he is definitely capable of cultivating these moments. And I would say that is one of them. The last thing I want to talk about before we have to move on, because there's so much to discuss and there's so little time. The last thing that I want to say, mention is the whole wandering Bruce Wayne, Batman Begins thing that happens at the beginning of this movie, which is cool in the sense of like, okay, we're more humility lessons. We're learning how to have humility here. He's going to break a beer over his head. Don't show everybody what you can do. Just get him back later by fucking up his truck. You know,
in a way that is so superhuman. It's like that didn't cause a stir. Like,
yeah, well,
like
it
what
does.
what
Lois Lane tracks him down because of
I
that.
know, but dude, he pushed like 5 telephone poles through a Mack truck. I was like, number one, even Superman? I'm like, how the hell did he do that without no one seeing? Did he take it up into the atmosphere and do it? What the fuck happened here? It's so odd and it's petty. The pettiness bothers me.
Petty,
but then again,
which is not a Superman trait.
My sacred cow brain goes off with that. And I'm like, God, it's so petty. Like any other time, I'd be like, yeah, that he deserves. Like if Hancock did it, fine. Like, you know what I mean?
This though? All right, Bob.
Yeah.
Bob. What about this? What about this? How about he's not Superman
Superman.
Yet.
I know.
He's struggling.
I'm willing to go that he is Superman for like literally like 3 days in this movie.
Right. And you want to know what's interesting? The thing that I do love about this movie, the thing that Zack Snyder does incredibly well, and even your arch nemesis Goyer or whatever. I don't you know, wait, Goyer, did Goyer have it? No, that's the other that's Batman.
He wrote this.
Oh, he wrote Man of Steel.
Yeah, he wrote Man of Steel with Snyder, yeah.
No, the lessons just over and over again of like, don't show them how strong you are. You need to resist because you can hurt these people. That I thought that it does that stuff in the flashbacks works great. It's great. It's an aspect. Let me put it to you this way, Bob. As someone who's read Superman for many, many, many years, despite not being a big Superman fan, that's the first time I think that I was taking in Superman material and going, never thought about it like that. Like that, the movie showed me that aspect of Superman. So there's got to be some merit there.
To be fair, I think a lot of people feel like that. Like, I think the people that are thirsting for the Snyder Cut definitely relate to this Superman more than they ever have Superman in the past. And does that make me happy? Sort of, because maybe it'll make them kind of dig deeper later on. Like if Henry Cavill becomes a more traditional Superman, they'll run with that too, and maybe they'll see what I see at some point.
You just nailed it on the head. The reason why these scenes work so well is because they make Superman so relatable to the audience, because every one of us has been in that situation where we wanted to retaliate. And maybe we did, or maybe we didn't, whatever the case, but it's a very relatable situation. And you could imagine like the idea that here's the most powerful being on the planet over and over again being tormented, and showing the fact that he's the strongest thing on the planet, and doesn't show it with his strength, but shows it with his, again, it's the same thing as why Ringo Starr is such a great drummer. Why is Ringo Starr such a great drummer? Not because he's flashy, because he shows such restraint. His minimal.
Well, I mean, now that's like Superman. I love what you're talking about. That's why I love Superman. It's if you ever watch there's this, if you go on YouTube and look up Superman cardboard speech, there's an episode of Justice League Unlimited, I believe, where Superman gives this speech. Great series where he stops Mongol from beating up Batman, and then he's like, and he like gives this speech about how he hates how the entire world is him restraining himself. And then he goes, but you can take it, can't you? And then he slugs him across the entire,
oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Wow.
Really great
moment. And I do remember that. And, and it's not something that you don't get.
It was just a good description of like, Superman is always holding himself back. Like even when he gets hit and knocked over, like it's because he's actually suppressing himself 24/7.
Right.
He's never actually letting it out.
Mongol.
Right. Yeah. It's a great moment. Right.
Great moment. All right. We're moving on to Batman versus Superman. And I'll initiate this.
Please do.
Right off the bat, I'm just going to talk about I'm going to say like a bunch of things, and then we'll address them. Okay. Go for it.
Go for
it. Going to run through it real quick. Otherwise we'll just, okay. Number one, I love the way this movie starts with the climax of Man of Steel. It is phenomenal. Not only is it phenomenal, but it's starting from a POV from the ground, from Bruce Wayne's perspective. Bruce Wayne is rushing into danger, which is such a Bruce Wayne thing to do.
I'm not interrupting. I just want to say,
go ahead.
from all the criticisms that Man of Steel took for how much city destruction there is, it was a genius move to use that as the catalyst.
Yes.
I didn't want to interrupt, but I'll give him that
please.
credit. That credit was like that. That was great. That was because all of us had that criticism. Like, this is like 43 9/11s happening. But then again, you're like, oh, so Batman's gonna hate Superman because of what we just saw.
Which again, and then to piggyback on what you just said about that, because in our last discussion, you're like, why do they have to fight? Why can't they just be friends? And this is why, Bob, they can't be friends, or at least they can't be friends. I'm just asking,
why did Zack Snyder Superman ever have to happen? Is basically what I'm saying. I'm just could it all just not have happened? All right, fine.
But this was such a great, again, what drives a character to do the things that they do. And I know as an avid moviegoer for me, and I know you're an avid moviegoer as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know, isn't when we watch movies, mm-hmm. I feel like I could speak on your behalf, and you tell me if I'm wrong.
I'll tell you if you're not diving. Oh, yeah.
But how many times are you watching something and you just go, no, not earned, not convinced.
Oh, sure.
No, it's not. This is not strong enough of a reason for this character to do this thing. You have not convinced me. And right off the bat, they give Batman the greatest purpose and greatest drive to confront a god. And
up until this moment, I am 100% with you on the drive and the motivation.
Okay, cool.
The movie from this point on is where this has nothing to do with fandom of the characters. If I may, my problems with BVS stop being about my allegiance to the source material and start being about what the fuck are you doing? This movie is a mess in a lot of ways. And I've watched this movie a lot, and there's a lot of stuff about it I actually really like. But man, when you open the fucking chest, it's just there's some just rot in there that I can't get rid of.
All right. Well, before we get to that,
go ahead.
You pick out all the rot. Look, this is how we're going to do this. I'm going to be Mr. Sunshine, and you're going to be Mr. Rain Clouds. Okay, that's what we're going to do here. But
I do like stuff about it.
I know, but that's what we're gonna. That's how we're going to tackle this. So I love seeing that. I love seeing Bruce witness the human cost right off the bat and help us to feel
witness something he's never seen or ever.
Right.
We're seeing Batman witness superpowers for the very first time.
Right. At least at that level.
And he's scared.
Batman.
And he's scared.
Batman. Yeah, that's the key too. Is first of all, two things. One, he's been Batman for a long time, but he's clearly never dealt with global threats. And that's the thing that's something else that needs to be briefly explored in this idea of, when Batman absolutely deals with global threats and even universe threats, and he has, but generally Batman is actually not even a world character. He can be, but he's a city. He is still
a man. He's still a man.
And he operates on a city level.
According to what we have, the information available to us, this Batman has been basically relegated to Gotham.
Right. But
from everything we know,
for 20 years or something, he's been Batman. He's been Batman for a long time.
But he's probably been beaten up like, mafia guys.
Right.
That's probably what he's been doing.
No. He's faced off against the Joker. He's faced off against
but not superpowers is what I'm saying.
No, he probably has faced off against his rogues. So whatever powers his rogues have, I'm going to say that at a Gotham level, and that includes like Killer Croc or Clayface or any of those guys. I'm going to throw them all in there. And
if Suicide Squad is canon, sure, yeah, of course
it is canon because he's in it. He's in it, so it has to be canon. So
but
right off
Superman
the bat,
level stuff has never come into play.
Right, and that gets further explored through the idea of the metahuman project, where we're starting to see these beings slowly rise. So Batman has always kind of existed in a very human world.
You mean the files on the computer that somebody took the time to design the logos for some reason?
Yes.
Okay. It's such a weird thing that it's a stupid complaint, but Who designed those logos?
Listen, if I can complain about Krypton not being able to get off Krypton, then you can complain about that.
The logo design, the illustrator that works for Wayne Enterprises.
Sure. I'll give you that one, Bob. I'm going to give you that one. So first of all, I love everything about this Batman. I know he's a Punisher Batman. You're right, he is. But
Batfleck is cool.
He's super cool. And you want to know something?
He's a good choice. Yeah.
You want to know something? The Punisher aspect is a Frank Miller aspect of Batman that is part of his core makeup. And therefore,
I'm not a fan, but I agree. I can't deny that. I'm not a fan of Frank Miller. Obviously, as a Superman fan, I'm not a fan of Frank Miller. I never really have been.
Oh, of course you're not. Because if you're a fan... You can't be. It's impossible for you to be a Superman fan and a fan of Frank Miller. Impossible.
Frank Miller viewed Superman as some kind of tool of the government, where I was like, that's not what he is.
Right.
And
which I love. I love that about.
I do too. I do too. I just wish it wasn't him. I don't hate it. It's just
but
breaking my boy.
In the original Dark Knight Returns, without all the extra stuff that would come later, in the original Dark Knight Returns, Superman is actually a pretty good dude besides being a government puppet. He's also he's still at the core. He is a really good guy, despite some of the things he's done.
It's a seminal comic. I'm not taking anything away from it.
Right. Okay.
I'm not. It's well written. It's a masterpiece. Whatever.
Right. I love how he says it with his eyes rolled.
Yeah, it's
a masterpiece. Fine.
It is.
And that animated adaptation of it is, but that's a story for another day. Oh my God, you have to. Well, you won't. Because
I will say this is that easily Ben Affleck has the best look.
Oh,
I think like his actual suit.
Yeah,
the actual look of Batman.
Suit is great.
He's not my favorite Batman by far, but he looks that suit and even his regular car. I'm like, it all is what I want. I still prefer the Burton Mobile, but I was like, dude, he looks like the Dark Knight from Dark Knight Returns.
I thought it was
looking.
A little it's too tumblery. I like the Burton Mobile is the best Batmobile. It's
easily. Anyone who says otherwise is wrong.
The best looking Batman besides Batfleck is phenomenal.
I'm talking suits.
Right. If we're talking suits, though, besides him, I'm also going to give it to Val Kilmer. I think Val Kilmer is just
always comes back to Batman Forever.
Batman Forever, baby. But
I'd rather Batman not be able to turn his head and look good than Batman look like Christopher Nolan's.
Right. But
because he looks terrible.
Yes, but Batfleck, for all intents and purposes, this is the young version or one of an iteration of the Frank Miller Dark Knight. And here's the word I want to use to describe Batfleck. He is thick. But you know when I say thick, it's THCC. He is thick, bro. He's thick, dude.
Right. No, I got you. I agree.
I love it, but I love it.
I watched BVS, I finished it not long before we started recording.
Yeah.
And the one thing that always strikes me is how much I enjoy Ben Affleck as Batman, but how much I hate everything about Batman in this movie. Yes, he's the Punisher, but outside of that, he is kind of stupid and he doesn't do much. He's not a genius in this movie. And I'll tell you, Jeff, listen to me. There is a montage where Alfred is doing a bunch of smart things.
Yeah, Alfred does a lot of stuff.
And what is that?
Jeremy Irons, Alfred.
But hold on.
Unbelievable.
Juxtaposition.
Yes.
Alfred is doing a bunch of smart Batman-y shit.
Yeah.
And what is Ben Affleck doing to prepare? He's going to the gym and getting a pump on. It's like
no, he's not. He's synthesizing. No, he's synthesizing kryptonite too. He's like,
no, that's Jeremy Irons doing that.
No, doesn't he do it too?
Nope.
He doesn't.
Nope.
He's filling. He's filling the canisters.
Jeff, he is working out. He's lifting tires. He's pulling ropes. He is just a buff dude in complete mental agony over, I've got to kill Superman. And I'm like, the whole time, I'm like, there's nothing clever about this. At no point is Batman ahead of the audience. He's Batman. He was duped.
I will agree. He's not ahead of the audience in this movie.
He was so duped. They're he's just. I can't believe how easy Lex Luthor wins here.
He manipulated Batman. He does manipulate Batman, which is
just
so
too easy.
un-Batman-like. It's very Batman is a chess player that is always 1,000 moves ahead. That's what makes him better than Superman. In that he has to think 1,000 moves ahead if he's going to even try and survive Superman.
Yes,
you know what I mean.
I would agree that Superman can be manipulated way easier, even though I think it's extremely stupid.
There's magic.
Well, there's not though. It's extremely stupid to have a scene where he brings Superman to him by pushing Lois off a roof, and Superman heard her from like how far away was he? And he grabbed her, but then he's like, "I have your mother, and she's in the same city as you, not protected by lead." And for some reason, he can't hear her. I'm like, this is dumb. This movie is idiotic.
Listen, I'm going to say. This is
I'm right there. Come on.
Well, hold on a second. Yes, you are right. Yes, you are right. Here's what I'm going to say right off the bat.
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman, where Man of Steel has all this wonderful plot, and again, listen. Oh, fuck plot. Who needs plot? Give me character. We want both, especially in a.
It's nice to have both, but characters
you want to have both, especially if it's one of these intricate movies. This is not a Joel Schumacher movie. It's not just simply Gotham.
It's too serious to forgive it.
Yeah. You have. There's too many things going on. You need to have some plot for this all to work, and Batman versus Superman's plot is really, they're juggling so much stuff, and it just some of it just comes out of left field. Some of it's very interesting. Some of it is. I want to talk about Lex Luthor for a minute. Let's get to Lex.
Yes, let's talk about Lex.
This is the worst Lex Luthor ever.
He's pretty bad.
He's like a
I get what they're trying to do, but it didn't. Big swings are nice. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate a big swing. Jesse Eisenberg
swings so with all of his heart, and I can respect him for swinging with all his heart. But but it's not his fault.
I'm not mad at him, but he missed.
But this quirky, sort of like finicky, like just Lex Luthor.
He's basically he owns Facebook. Lex Luthor. That's who he is.
He literally is like
Zuckerberg.
He's literally Zuckerberg, with long hair, and it's so unbecoming of a good Lex Luthor. You know who would play an interesting Lex Luthor? Would have been the dude who from Mandalorian and Breaking Bad. Giancarlo, whatever his face is.
Oh, Giancarlo Esposito.
Would love to see him as
Lex amazing. Luthor, yes,
and would also love to see him as Dr. Doom. But that's another story. I've heard that float around. That would be a great Dr. Doom.
Dude, that's incredible.
Right? Wouldn't that be something else? Him as Dr. Doom. He's the perfect Dr. Doom. But that's not. But he couldn't be the Dr. Doom who's
now we're not talking about BBS.
This Lex Luthor is so problematic for so many reasons, and again, he's fun to watch, but not as Lex Luthor. It's like keep in mind, wait, that's supposed to be Lex Luthor. You go, oh my god, this is not fun as Lex Luthor. And again, as we've learned from the Burton verse and everything else, you can have a really, really delicious villain driving your movie, which will bring me back for rewatches just to watch the villain be bad. As great example, Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York has endless rewatch value for how great Bill the Butcher is. I can sit there and just marinate in Bill. I will watch every minute of Cameron Diaz stealing from rich people's houses if I could just see DDL being Bill the Butcher. And
that's traditionally the role in those movies that's always, I think, people gravitate towards is the Lex Luthor. Right. I mean, before Spacey was outed as a piece of shit, I actually like him in that movie. He's
great. You don't even have
a great choice.
Listen, we know that Spacey's a piece of shit. It's not even. It's irrelevant to the fact that he's a good Lex Luthor and he was great in that movie. And it doesn't matter that he is a piece of shit for the fact that in that movie, he's good. He is.
Think of Smallville. I mean, Michael Rosenbaum was a great.
I never watched it, dude.
Oh, never mind. Well, he was a great Lex Luthor. He was a truly great one. John Cryer is a great Lex Luthor now on television.
Jeffrey, what's his name? Clancy, whatever.
Clancy Brown is an incredible Lex Luthor.
That's the voice of Lex Luthor.
The Kurgan, man. The Kurgan. Yeah.
That will always be just the way that Hamill's Joker is the Joker that I hear.
Yeah.
And
no,
Kevin Conroy is Batman. Clancy Brown is Lex Luthor.
I mean, the voice casting in those cartoons is just perfect.
And that's Superman to me, endlessly.
Kevin Conroy?
No. Who plays Superman is Tim.
Oh, Tim Daly. Sorry, Tim Daly.
He is. Oh my God, he is just a phenomenal Superman. They nailed that.
No, when I hear his voice, I'm like, that Superman sounds like Tim Daly.
When you read the comics, that's what you hear.
Superman the animated series will be released on HBO Max the day before the Snyder Cut.
Happy.
I think it's just as good as Batman the animated series is perfect. No, I'm not even arguing. But I think Superman the animated series
Brave and the Bold is
amazing.
Too.
Brave and the Bold is cool. Yeah,
phenomenal show.
But I personally think Superman the animated series deserves a little bit more love than it ever got. But it's really good.
And the Justice League, as you said, that whole Justice League, that Project Batman,
that's awesome, man.
Project Batman, where it turns out that retroactively that Bruce Wayne is the father of Terry McGinnis is like awesome.
I guess you call it the Paul Dini verse, right?
That's the Dini verse.
The Dini verse where Harley Quinn was born.
Like it's just all that stuff is great, but with Batman versus Superman getting down, they try. This is what Zack Snyder's ultimately doing. He's like, look, I'm going to redo the big fight from The Dark Knight Returns. It's going to be the centerpiece of my movie. It's going to be super friggin' awesome. Here's the plot mechanics that work really well. They're very this is what Batman versus Superman does extraordinarily well. It's economical with the Man of Steel. It takes these elements from the Man of Steel, the whatever's left over, and repurposes them in ways that really help Batman versus Batman versus Superman. One, what we already mentioned, seeing the Kryptonian fight from the ground level and seeing the human toll on it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that part.
And two, reusing General Zod's body to create Doomsday. I thought, great.
I'm fine with that aspect of it.
I'm like that. And using the Kryptonian birthing matrix from the first. I'm going, this is good. Like, these are really good.
There's stuff where you're like, the thing about Snyder is there's moments where you're like, oh shit, he thought this out for a moment. And then I think about something else and I'm like, he didn't think this out.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. And again, you know what I'm talking about? The broad strokes are great. And the broad strokes
are there. They're definitely
we're going to center the whole film on the Batman versus Superman fight, but we need a button. What could be better than Batman versus Superman? Let's bring in Doomsday. And then they have a threat that causes them to team up. However, what falters with the movie happens on two levels. The first level is initially the Martha thing, which this time around, you're going to hate me for this.
No, it works a little better after a few rewatches. It does. I admit it.
I was totally okay with it. I don't know why I was upset. I don't know why anybody's upset.
You know what it is? I think it might be the Ultimate Edition. Because in the Ultimate Edition, I can't prove this because I don't remember the theatrical cut.
I don't remember it either.
I've only watched the Ultimate Edition in the last 5 years.
Okay.
So
I've seen one each.
There's an edit where they show the grave of Martha Wayne. And
right, like they smack you across the face.
So there's that moment where you're like, okay, so Batman is realizing that Superman has a humanity to him because just like him, he has a mother. And they happen to have the same. There's that one edit, because I'm an editor. I believe in editing. That one edit, I think, actually makes the difference. Now, I can't remember if that's in the theatrical cut, but it doesn't. I don't think it was.
The idea is a powerful idea. And I'll put it to, and I will say this, and this is the honest truth, even though I thought it was stupid the first time I watched it, at the same time, in all, I've qualified how many times over these 2 episodes we've done. I've read a lot of Batman, and I've read some Superman. I've read a ton of Batman. I have never, and that is comic.
Realized that they had the same name.
Who remembered that they both are Martha? And so here's this element that is even to someone who reads comics very well. And I'm sure there are people that might have read the comic and known that and made them smack their forehead going, oh, that's so stupid. Like, yeah, but like, it's stupid. For me, it's kind of a revelation going, oh, so this is how, like, it kind of works as a catalyst for Bruce to sort of put his, let his guard down to, or recognize the humanity in the thing that he thought was an alien threat.
Right. Now, talking about this moment, I'm staying on this moment.
Yeah, staying on the moment.
It's, for me, the fight that led up to it and this moment itself. The problem, you could make this moment work. I think it's an execution problem that it didn't work for most people. Me and you, I think we're giving it more. We're forgiving it, and we're giving it more time. The fact that you even rewatched it once is more than I know. That I have friends who will never watch another Zack Snyder movie ever again. They hate him so much. Fine, I'm not dogging on them, but what I'm saying is this movie is a movie where these two characters in the title do not speak to each other. They are very stunted individuals in that sense. And the fact that it's Batman that doesn't do his research and doesn't try to talk to this alien before trying to kill him, the fact that Superman only gives him one sentence of, hey man, wait a second, before they start to beat the shit out of each other, means that when we work ourselves up to the moment, there has never been a dialogue between them that could make the excuse for him stopping that spear. And
I agree. Okay, hold on one second. I do agree with you there. And this is what you were talking about when we were talking about why couldn't they just talk it out with the Kryptonians, work it out, and not have to, have either or. Here is where I will defend the situation. Because, yes, I agree that Batman, one aspect of Batman is that he does all his research. He has to think 1,000 steps ahead. But the
Batman we know does that. This version does not. Okay.
What they're doing, and what Snyder has made the choice to lean super heavy into the other aspect of Batman. Batman is a sick guy. Too. There's a psychosis about Batman that Frank Miller pushes to the extreme, and part of what he pushes to the extreme is, what's interesting about Batman. Superman has humility. Batman is an egomaniac. Mm-hmm. He's egomaniacal in the sense that he's nothing but a man, but his ego is so crazy, and it's not like a bad ego. It's like a healthy ego. His ego is he's a superhuman. We talked about him having a super will. He also has a super ego. And what it allows him to do is I literally am going to will all crime to leave Gotham City. Like, I can't stand crime.
I think, if anything, the thing I said to you on the last time we talked on here, when I said that he made Batman the Punisher and he made, Superman Batman when he moved everything, is that he does almost lean into, like you said, Frank Miller, into satirizing these characters. Like, he's kind of making fun. Like, Batman isn't really doing much detective work. He isn't really building things. Alfred's doing all that. He is just sort of sick. Ben Affleck's Batman in this movie is like a murderous child who's like, this cannot happen. Can't you see what he's living in a world of ifs?
Dude, that is a core tenet of Batman. That's not just in Frank Miller's Batman. It is all over. And that is part of what makes Batman Batman.
More so than any Batman we've ever seen, at least on screen. How's that? This is a Batman. He's like in a murderous rage where he's going past thinking about
let me correct you. I don't think it's, or let me counter that. I don't think it's a murderous rage. What it is it speaks to this idea of Batman recognizing his limits as a human being and going, I'm going to take on a god. And
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that too. I also,
you know what I mean? Like
he actually thinks he's actually egotistical enough to think he could stop Superman. And Alfred
right.
in this movie, to be fair, is like, you can't do this. Even with the kryptonite, you can't do this.
Right.
You're
and
not.
He's got to prove it that he can. Because at the end of the day, and it's my favorite. It's your least favorite. It's my most favorite. Where he says, Clark, I just want you to. And that's the beauty about Frank Miller. I feel like that's like the first time that really happened, where they didn't even go by their superhero names. They called themselves by their Bruce and Clark. And he says, Clark, I want you to remember this moment in all your years to come. I want you to remember when I had my foot or my hand at your throat, blah, blah, blah. And then right at that moment, and again, this speaks to what is missing in Batman versus Superman, the fact that Batman fakes his own death, and Superman does pick up on his heartbeat. But at the time, he thinks that Batman just dies right then and there. And it's
listen to what you're saying. In that scene, in that comic book, it's so personal.
It's very personal.
What we're watching in this movie is two strangers fighting that have no context, and they've been driven this way by Willy Wonka.
You know that personality? Like, no. I'm going to correct you one more time. Not correct you. Sorry, I'm sorry. I keep saying that. I'm going to counter that. I'm going to counter that. Yeah, I know, but it comes off like I don't really mean that in like a.
It's okay. I have a tendency to say "go ahead," and it sounds really rude. Steven Stahl,
I didn't think that. Really?
Your frequent collaborator on here, Steven Stahl, has yelled at me on his own podcast
really?
for saying that. Yeah.
Oh, I admit at all.
No, I admit I do it, and I try not to. It comes off really rude.
I don't mean it. Go ahead. You can do it all you want. I don't mind.
Okay. I don't want to be rude to anybody, but it just happens naturally. Yeah.
No. What I want to say. And again, maybe it's just I'm so passionate about this stuff that I like have to get it out, which is why I'm like crawling all over you to get this out.
Yeah.
No, it is there, Bob. It is there, but it comes in the form. You said, about the personal thing. You said these guys are strangers. It's still personal. It's personal because of the human toll at the beginning. It's personal because of what happened to the mom inside the building, that orphan that made the little girl lose her mother in the same way that he lost his parents. It is personal for Batman, even though that they've never met. Projecting
I feel like
onto Superman wrongly.
I'm complimenting you by saying you're willing to do all those thought exercises to get there.
Because I know the character.
Yeah, I think you're willing to do those thought exercises, but I don't think an average viewer is getting that. From what you're, and that's fine that you're getting that. I could probably dig and find that too, but I don't think the average person gets that from those scenes. I think that is an execution problem. You know what I mean? And as you know, just as much as I do, filmmaking, if you're trying to elicit a response from a certain group, this is a major movie, and I think to some degree this is the auteur problem. This is the auteur problem, is that he is an auteur filmmaker, and Zack Snyder very likely could be saying the thing that you're saying, but it's not being conveyed like a 4-quadrant movie should probably do it.
Right. 10-pole 4-quadrant, gotta hit all these demographics, yada,
it's just not there. It's just not there for that audience.
For the sake of time, I want to move on. Let's move on now to then they start peppering. They want us to know about all the other metahumans. Then we meet Wonder Woman. And she comes in, and it's sort of like it's like all over the place and messy. But what it does,
it's fun.
It sets up, it's fun. Which again, because that's at the end of the day, and we talked about this last week, that even if the plot isn't working, it's super fun to watch the Holy Trinity.
The Holy Trinity,
Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman team up to fight Doomsday.
Right.
And Batman is like so totally, it's above his pay grade, but he still does his little part by using the little bomb to get the kryptonite smoke in his face, and does a little. They give him a little moment to do his little thing where he has to like dodge an attack. And
also, like, can we also acknowledge that Wonder Woman really holds her own here?
Oh, she's awesome. She is so. I love her.
I'm not talking about the other movies, but her power level at some point between 1984 and now needs to greatly increase. Because the Wonder Woman in the first two movies could not hold off Doomsday like she does in this movie.
She learns a couple of things.
She learns a couple of things here.
She learns a couple of things, and she is awesome, and it's so great. And again, you know, they end the movie. It's like, hey, we're gonna do Dark Knight Returns in the middle, and then we're gonna finish it off with Batman, the Death of Superman. And I'm going, in my mind, again, from masterstroke points, I'm going fucking great. And then bring him back in, do Return of Superman in Justice League. I'm like, at least that's how I'm feeling at the time. I'm going, bravo, you nailed it.
And can I say, as you're feeling that in this moment, what I would love to give the praise to this movie is for, I think I'm going to say most of my life, 25 years, the Doomsday fight. Some people hate it. Some people love it in the comics, you know, but whenever Superman's fighting a character like that cannot fly, the criticism is always, that guy weighs like 1,000 pounds. He can throw him into space. Yeah. And I'm like, I'll give it this. Zack Snyder did it. He had him punch Doomsday up into space. Yeah. Because Doomsday can't fly. He can't propel himself anywhere.
No, he does fly. Eventually he does fly, though.
He doesn't fly in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
No, he doesn't. He explodes.
No. He flies. At one point, he starts flying.
I don't remember that.
He's essentially he's a mutated Kryptonian.
No,
he flies.
I don't think he does.
All right. We're gonna go back. We'll clarify this afterwards.
Either way,
okay. Dude, he flies. He totally flies in this. Eventually, he flies.
I don't.
Yeah, dude.
I'm almost positive he doesn't.
I'm almost positive he does. We'll
either way, he wasn't flying when he gets punched into space.
Right. No, he wasn't.
And you know, like when the Superman is fighting the Hawk, all you got to do is throw the Hawk into space, and him throwing like 2,000 pounds into space is literally no feat.
Oh my God! And they did the nuke moment from Dark Knight Returns as well, which I was like, oh, that's so good.
Like stuff like that. Like, yes, Zack Snyder is Zack Snyder, but I'm like, hell yeah, Superman taking a nuclear weapon to the dick and living is fucking incredible, you know.
But that's
so good.
I mean, but it's just, and it's totally taken from, you know, stopping the Russians from causing World War III or whatever, and he explodes, and you know he has to. The sun replenishes him, yada yada yada.
I'm all about that stuff. I mean, like, I'll give the credit where credit's due.
Yeah, it's great, man. And they end the movie with, you know, the movie with he's dead, but we know that he's not dead. Everybody knows he's not dead.
Everyone knows that, yeah.
But they just want you to feel. They want you to feel something. It's like, you know, it's like if you think about it. And here's the other thing that I really love. This movie, for anybody who remembers or was following this movie as it was being made, it started off as Man of Steel 2. It was supposed to just be a Superman 2 movie. Then it became Superman versus Batman. Then it became, we're going to put Wonder Woman in there. And slowly the movie organically grew into this, what essentially was a Trinity movie that would be a precursor to the Justice League. And in my mind, I'm going...
Hence the title.
Right, Dawn of Justice. And I'm going, holy shit, this is what a brilliant idea. We're going to introduce you with Superman, Man of Steel. Then we're going to open up the world a little bit more. And then boom, here's your Justice League. And I'm going, they're doing the reverse, essentially, of what Marvel did.
Yeah.
And as we can see, some people have criticized DC, and I've made this criticism as well. They tried to reap all the rewards without earning them. Marvel earned that stuff by movie by movie, they laid down layer.
Yeah.
So much so that you could introduce, you didn't need to have a single introduction in Avengers Endgame. There's not a person that was saying, what the fuck? Why is this person here? Because they knew that the core audience, the people that were following this thing, they're going to be like, oh yeah, it was just like a living comic book. And DC was going, they're trying to copy Marvel's homework, and they're just...
To be fair,
yeah,
we all know that at one point, George Miller almost made a Justice League movie with no prior movies.
Yes.
So to be fair, the WB had that idea a long time ago.
Do you know who would have been the Martian Manhunter?
I don't remember, no.
Toe Cutter from Mad Max was supposed to be
so good.
Hugh was going to be the Martian Manhunter.
Wasn't it Army Hammer as Superman, I think?
that might have come after George Miller. When George Miller was initially involved. And here's the other thing too with that. Yes, they had an idea to do a Justice League movie, but they had also had, I'm sure they had ideas to do.
Superman movies have such a development history. I know that, just Superman himself.
Right.
I mean, like, just to get him to screen has always been an insane prospect.
Right.
But you could, I know that there's been like 100 Justice League movie pitches or whatever in the past 20 years.
There were so many. I mean, same thing with Spider-Man. There were lots of iterations. There was going to be a Tom Cruise Iron Man in the 90s, and it never happened. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many.
It was so weird.
Weird, but I mean, at the time, that would have made sense. That would have been the move to go with, you know? And ultimately, you know, they were a situation where they were building this massive network, and here they're doing, okay, we're going to do this trilogy 1, 2, 3, and in theory, and to get the guy who did Watchmen makes perfect sense, because no matter what you want to say about Zack Snyder in this, we've been talking and criticizing and analyzing Zack Snyder, but at the end of the day, Zack Snyder set a precedent with Watchmen, which to this day, brick for brick with Avengers Endgame, there I said it, that Watchmen movie as a singular work, think about that. Avengers Endgame is great because it's built on the back of 22 movies. Or one of the reasons it's great. One of the reasons.
It's unique. It's unique for that reason. Like nothing has ever done that before in that way.
Now Zack Snyder did the Watchmen in a singular movie as a singular stroke. Watchmen.
And I think we are two people that agree on that movie very much.
Yes.
There is a lot of people that very much do not like that movie.
Which blows my mind. For so many
I understand it, but I'm not one of those people. I get it, and they're entitled to that feeling, but I'm happy it exists like it does.
I hate to cinch this conversation, but
no problem.
We're beginning our final descent here. Yeah. And where this is I should have said this at the beginning of the episode. This is actually part one of a 2-part conversation, a conversation so big that we wanted to make sure, and it turned out we actually did pretty well for our time.
I think we did. Yeah.
We did a good job. We probably could have endlessly poured over minutia, but
this is 6. We just talked about 6 hours of material. So
we just hit the things that the things that were left unsaid because we thought they were pretty good and they didn't need to be.
They just have nothing to say.
Yeah, they just didn't need to be addressed so great, so quickly. By the way, I loved what's her name, Diane, who plays Martha. What's her name? Diane
Hershey. I don't know what her name is.
Not Diane Keaton. Diane Lane. Diane Lane.
She's so good.
She's so
good,
perfect, man.
I like Kevin Costner as Pa Kent. Don't get me wrong.
Great too. He was great.
It's not like the performance is bad.
No. Kevin Costner was great casting.
He's not. The performance isn't bad. We're talking about story and character. We're not talking about performance.
He wasn't in the original theatrical version of Batman versus Superman. That was added in, I think.
No, I saw that in theaters.
Oh, he was in theaters?
The horse thing was in theaters. That horse conversation. Yeah. It's weird. It's weird.
And then the other part too, in the way that they are economically trying to like dovetail, they used Man of Steel and weaved it into Dawn of Justice, these broad plot strokes, just doing great jobs with that. Then they take it to another level by taking their weird Lex Luthor and they go, here's how Darkseid comes into the picture because wait, what happened? Because of
Batman has the parademon dream.
Right. No, but that was just a dream. No, it wasn't a dream. He sees Flash. Flash actually does come to him. No, what is the thing that they do where they hear him? They hear Earth, the apocalypse. He says it at the end. He says, they heard you. That was a bell. They heard what you did. They're coming. The demon, they're coming from the sky. That whole speech about how demons don't come from the earth. They come from the sky.
I can't remember who says it for some reason. There was some action. It was something at the end
that was super cosmic that causes.
I think it was the death of Doomsday, like his actual release of power.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe, but it leads, Batman, he's in the cell and he says they're coming. He says they're coming, and it sort of parallels the conversation of one if by air, two if by sea.
Yeah.
He's like a weird little elf, like
right.
quirky little elf going, I'm Lex Luthor,
right.
And
also, how does he know this stuff? It doesn't matter.
Oh no, it's explained. As a matter of fact, I didn't remember.
Oh yeah, because he does the chamber.
You see him talking to Steppenwolf. He's actually communicating. Oh no, you know what it was? That's how they knew. They know that they're coming because of Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor accesses the information from 100,000 worlds. He learns about Darkseid and Apocalypse and that they're coming. And it sets it up for Justice League.
I'm excited to see those threads actually finished. Like,
yeah, me
not
too.
that I like everything I like. I'm more about somebody completing their vision than I am if I like it or not.
Right.
I wanted, like, the thing with the Flash showing to Bruce Wayne and saying, Lois is the key. That is not paid off in the theatrical version of Justice League. It's not. It's just not.
Right. Is it going to be paid off? I don't think it's going to be paid off in the Snyder Cut either. I think
we'll see. We don't know. It's 4 hours. It could be. It
could be, but I think that they might touch on those themes again. But of course they would, because Snyder would be like, okay, now we're going to build it up a little bit more. But that sounds like that's something that's probably going to pay off in Justice League 2 or Justice League 3 had it been made.
Had it been made.
No, had it been made. And we know a little bit about those because of Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith was working on a movie with someone who was in the production office and saw some of those plot points on, directly from Zack Snyder himself. So we kind of have an idea. I mean, they were going to go to Apocalypse in the second movie.
And Batman was going to have a baby with Lois.
Yes, Batman was going to have a baby with Lois. And now, and you know this as well as I do, in Superman Batman #1, the first story arc, which is Public Enemy, they do go to Apocalypse. At least this is like modern world's finest.
That was 15 years ago. Was that?
I know. That was Jeff Loeb wrote that. Jeff Loeb wrote that. And it was great. It was a great book. And those 6 or 7 collected trades are phenomenal of Batman, Superman stuff. Really sort of like they very much like juxtaposing Batman versus Superman with, thought bubbles and yada, yada, yada. But they go to Apocalypse and Batman squares off toe-to-toe with Darkseid and gets beaten to a pulp, but he doesn't die because he has a mother box protecting him. And it is, and the best part about it is, this to me is the best sermonization of Batman as a character, where here he is facing off against a god on another planet. And he basically says, he using only his words, only his strategy. He says, look, I forget the exact gist. He says, I have this mother box. And if you do XYZ, I think it had something to do with Clark. If you do XYZ, I'm going to detonate all of these bombs, which the bombs that create the hotspots on Apocalypse. I'm going to detonate all of them and you're going to be fucked. And Darkseid is actually outsmarted by Batman and goes, oh, you fucker. He goes, so he lets Superman or whatever, he lets them go, but not before beating the shit out of Batman wearing the mother box. And it's just, man, and you just think that maybe Zack Snyder might have like dabbled in a little of that.
I think there's possibly we're going to see stuff like that.
I would love that. I would love that.
If I made a story about Superman and Batman, I would choose Emperor Joker.
That is a very, very fun, weird. That's where he gets the powers of Mr. Mxyzptlk, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's one of
the few that actually made me cry at the end. I remember that, like, I literally physically cried at the end of that.
I don't remember the ending, but
the ending is essentially Batman is tortured for what he feels is 1,000 years by crows ripping his flesh off. Constantly, every day, all day.
I think I remember something like that.
And then, so Superman actually takes his memories from him and takes the pain on himself to save his friend. And he'll never know, and he'll always have those memories. And it's just a beautiful moment. And that is why I don't want them to fight.
I understand. One last thing before we go, because we have to go. By the way, two things. Thing number one, so far, the reviews have been unanimously positive, and I'm really stoked. That's number one.
And most of them have been like, even if you don't like Zack Snyder, this is a vindication of him doing it.
Yes. So, I mean, we literally are going to get this in 2 days. 2 days?
2 days.
Oh my God, how exciting is this? And then we have to talk again. The other thing I wanted to say, oh my God, did I just forget what I was going to say about oh my God. Oh, at the something with the ending. I'm trying to remember the thought. It's like, it's at the tip of my tongue. Something about, and as soon as we exit off, I'm going to remember what it was.
Okay.
Something about Batman and Superman. Oh, yes. What going back to my point, we got so distracted. Going back to my point, what does not feel earned in Dawn of Justice, one of my biggest gripes, is how quickly they become friends after fighting each other. It happens too quickly. It doesn't. I know all that stuff is supposed to happen in one night. Isn't that
a failure of the Martha scene though? That's the turn.
That is the failure. No, but it's a turn. But again, if this movie was 4 hours long, then that would have taken a lot. I know it's not, but but it would have.
Isn't that the reason people were like stepbrothers? Like, are we best friends? Yep.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
but that's not. But no. But the Martha moment works. The Martha moment works, but it's not. It's not the be all end all. It's a catalyst for them to break away from their conflict. But I would have preferred. Here's what I would have preferred. You know what would have worked better? All right, ready? Super quick armchair rewrite session in literally 2 minutes because I really have to go.
Okay.
What happens is this: the Martha moment happens. They call a tense ceasefire. They are not friends, but there's a tense ceasefire because there are bigger fish to fry. So they are working towards a common enemy. They're not friends. They're working towards a common enemy of Lex Luthor, Doomsday. They fight Doomsday and Batman realizes, look, this guy Doomsday is way worse than even Superman, yada, yada, yada. They fight, blah, blah, blah. It is Superman sacrificing himself and killing himself when fighting Doomsday that changes Bruce forever to be like down with Superman. And Superman never really had a problem with Batman to begin with, apart from like whatever, all that stuff. So
he was fine with him.
So that's all you needed. Just have that moment be earned in Superman's death and not immediately after with the Martha thing where they're so, ready to team up. That doesn't work.
I feel like there's shades of that in the original theatrical cut of Justice League. Like, I don't know what the Snyder Cut's going to hold, but if you watch the theatrical cut of Justice League, which I've done only once, I remember that Batman is basically in love with Superman the whole movie. He's like, we need him back. He's the best. He's the best guy. He'll save us. Like, that whole movie is just him like, we can't do anything without him. Like, I don't know if I like that either, but that's what that movie was. It was Batman just going, he is the best. He's the best of us.
Well, instead of saying he's the best, it would have been what would have been more interesting is Batman being the strategic guy that he is, going, Superman is the secret weapon that we need in order to
threat. There's only one man who
we
can
need
help
to bring him. Yeah, we need to bring him back, no matter what.
My favorite moments in cinema history: the end of Back to the Future 2. There's only one man who can help me, and then it cuts to the ending of Back to the Future 1. It's like I love that moment. That's basically what I want from Justice League. Is there's only one man that can help us.
Well, the other thing. Oh wait. Oh no, I just forgot. Oh my God, am I going?
I'm sorry.
That? What was the? No, it's okay. I'm trying to remember what I was about to say. What were we just talking about right before you said that? We were talking about. What was I saying?
Superman sacrificing himself for Batman. Right. Batman realizing that's when he falls in love with him.
What I would have loved to see for an end scene, or even for like the end of that Justice League movie or something, what I would have liked to see is going back to the Batman versus Superman comics that we were just talking about. And there are some great scenes where Batman opens up a safe and there's a room full of kryptonite. synthesize kryptonite. So no matter how good friends they are, Batman always has kryptonite at his disposal. Something that Superman begrudgingly agrees to in case he's ever taken over.
That's not always true, though. There are comics, and I especially remember the Ra's al Ghul storyline. If you remember that, the one where Ra's al Ghul steals all Batman's files and learns how to take down the entire.
Oh my God! No, that's a Justice League. That's Justice League. That's Justice League where Batman gets kicked out of the Justice League for having secret files and everybody.
Right, but in that story, it's admitted that Superman is the only person on the Earth that Superman entrusts kryptonite to.
That's true.
Batman, and he gives it to him because he says, if anyone ever takes over my mind, you stop me. I only trust you. And that, once again, is why I love the two of them being friends, and they're best friends, and they trust each other because the greatest. They're the greatest of who they are, and they trust each other, and they're friends.
Do you remember what the thing is? That's not the thing that's in Superman's file that makes that's the betrayal against Superman.
No, it's the sun thing.
Yeah, his skin.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
skin translucent, which allows him to not absorb the rays. I can't, dude. I haven't read that in 20 years, and I fucking remember that.
That's a good fucking story, man. That was a
great
good story.
I forget what it's called.
I remember when the I forget what it's called, but when
Tower of Babel.
Tower of Babel. When Nolan had Ra's al Ghul in the movie, I was like, oh shit. Is the next movie going to be this storyline? I thought, I remember being so excited that they were going to do that storyline. And of course,
he's such a letdown in that. All right. Listen, we got to wrap this up. I got to go. Bob, I want to thank you so much. This was honestly,
thank you.
I love talking to you. You rule.
Same.
We groove well.
Yes.
This conversation is going to pick up when Bob and I appraise Justice League, the Snyder Cut, and we'll probably talk and compare and contrast with that abysmal theatrical version,
which I think everyone wants to pretend never happened anyway.
Which we will. It's been erased from history. So as we always say on the show, peace and hair.